Hey rockers, welcome back to the channel. It's a rainy night here in Southern Oregon. Just listening to the rain pitter patter on the roof. It's kind of nice. Made me decide to do something different tonight. And instead of telling a tale about rock, punk, or metal, I've got a story about comedy. And I'm talking about the great comedian known as David Spade. But before I do, thank you to my good friend Steve Westkirchen, who I had the privilege and the honor of hanging out with today over in Grants Pass, Oregon. Did a little bit of light hiking, and he gave me this killer Geddy Lee t-shirt, man. I really appreciate that, Steve, and being a big Rush fan, I proudly wear the Geddy Lee t-shirt, which was made in honor of his book, his spoken word audio book and regular book, which I have copies of both, and I have to thank Steve for getting this for me, man. Gotta love Geddy Lee, man. Well, you know, I do. Also, thank you so much to the Geezers, a great punk rock band out of Chicago that sent me a big package of some great records. Thank you to the Geezers, and in particular, Jack Geezer for the vinyl. Good stuff, man. I got to go back to the year 2007, maybe 2008, Los Angeles, California. I decided I needed a vacation, and me and my youngest daughter, Audrey, decided to go to LA to visit my friend Lydia Paweski, who I've known since high school. We went out there to check out, you know, some fun stuff in LA and the surrounding areas. We did a big tour of some of the Doors haunts, places where the Doors had recorded songs. We went to the place where Jim Morrison's wife, Pamela, died, and they had to like carry her down the stairs and into the ambulance or whatever they carried her out in when she died. I remember seeing that photo of Pamela Courson, and so we went there to that actual house and sat on the porch and kind of reminisced about the Doors. We went into the studio and into the bathroom where Jim Morrison recorded some of his more famous songs. It was really cool to go in there with another singer, my friend Lydia, and do some vocals and hear the acoustics and how cool it sounded to go replicate those Jim Morrison tunes in LA. We also were sitting in her backyard, and she had a lemon tree. Now, I was a guy from, Peoria, Illinois. We don't have lemon trees in the backyard. And she's like, hey, buddy, you want to make some fresh lemonade? And she's picking lemons off the lemon tree, and we're making lemonade right there on the table out in the sunshine. It was freaking killer, man. And while we were in LA, we ended up running into Shug Knight. And my daughter at the time's like, hey man, there's Shug Knight, let's stop and get a picture with him or whatever. And I'm like, nah, I don't really have any desire to meet Shug Knight. And this is before he really came out in the press as being a bad guy, but he already had, but not in the big way that he was later. And of course, he's in prison now. But we ran into Shug Knight. And then, of course, while we were in Los Angeles, driving around in my friend Lydia's convertible and rocking out to old 60s tunes, we decided, Audrey and I, that we were going to go to the Rainbow Bar and Grill. So we did. We spent a day at Knott's Berry's farm, and then that night we went to the Rainbow Bar and Grill, which is just a famous rock and roll bar that so many rockers and legends have hung out at since, the beginning of coolness. Well, side note, I'm going to be going there in April to see Michael Monroe performing. I think it's the 53rd anniversary of the Rainbow Bar. I could be wrong on that date, but Michael Monroe from Hanoi Rocks is playing there with Black Oak, Arkansas, and some other bands. Cannot wait. And of course, Michael's going to be at the Whiskey the night before in LA. That's going to be awesome as well. Can't wait. But the night we went to the Rainbow Bar and Grill, we decided we were going to get some chow and have some good food, even though the food there is okay, but it's more of the vibe of the place. And anyone that's ever hung out at the Rainbow Bar and Grill knows that that's where pretty much the who's who of rock and roll and Hollywood and music and the entertainment business kind of go and hang out when they want to just go chill. Lemmy from Motorhead was famous for basically living there. They have that back room and different parts of the building where they have different machines you can play and different little sidebars. And Lemmy would sit there day and night when he wasn't on tour and whatnot, because he lived a couple of blocks away from the Whiskey. Anyway, the night we were there, we were sitting there. Audrey and I are both sitting on like a table like this, looking that way, and we're ordering dinner. And she looks at me and she goes, "Hey, Dad, isn't that guy over there sure looks like a lot like Chris Farley's brother?" And I look over and I go, that is his brother. I forget Chris Farley's brother's name. And I'm not sure if he's a famous cat for comedy or acting. I don't believe he is. I think Chris was the famous one, but I could be wrong. totally wrong. But it was Chris Farley's brother, and he looked just like Chris Farley. And then Audrey says, Dad, look who's with him. It's David Spade. Well, David Spade's a pretty freaking popular comedian that we're fans of. And we've seen a lot of his movies. And the stuff he did with Chris Farley, come on, you guys. If you like comedy, you got to admit that stuff is some funny shit, man. You know, Tommy Boy, Black Sheep, those are some funny slapstick comedy, just great comedy movies. And those guys as a team were just pretty darn cool. So there he is, Chris Farley's brother and David Spade. And they're over there having drinks, it looked like, and they're just sitting casually. And we decide, hey, wouldn't it be kind of cool to talk to David Spade? And me and Audrey are trying to decide who's going to go talk to him. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to. I don't want to bother him at a place like this. These guys don't want to be bothered by people like us going, hey, can we have an autograph? But Audrey, after about a half an hour, decides, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go talk to David Spade. So she walks over to David Spade. They're super cool to her. Chris Farley's brother and David were treating her like super nice. She told them she was there visiting from Peoria, Illinois. And they were like, hey, that's cool. Met your dad and all that. And they talked for about 5 minutes and they were cool to her and signed a bunch of stuff for her. And she came back over and said, yeah, they're just really nice guys, Dad. You should go over and say hi. And I'm like, nah, that's cool. I'm good, man. I'm glad you got to meet him, though. That's super cool. Then we turn over to our left and we're looking around and we see the booth right next to our booth, right? Because that's what it was. It was like a booth. I believe they're like red, sort of cushiony sort of booths. We look to the left of our booth and there's a lady with another lady. Well, we didn't know who the one lady was, but the other lady was Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac. We were tripping because she was like, 5 feet away and we didn't notice her the whole time we were there. Just totally obsessed with what was in front of us, I guess. But yeah, Stevie Nicks was there, and we were like tripping because how often do you run into Stevie Nicks, right? Well, when Stevie went to leave, she actually walked by our table and gave us a look, and we were going to say hello. And she gave us this look like a glare, like, don't even think about it. And we were like, whoa, the vibes she put off were not very friendly. Maybe it's just me. Maybe that's just she was having a bad day. Maybe she was in a bad mood. But Stevie Nicks was not up there being like, hey, what's up? Or smiley. She was like this. And it was like, yeah, not saying hi to her. And so, yeah, that was trippy. But the funny part happened when I decided after waiting for my food for kind of a long time, I thought, what do I have to lose? I'm going to go over and say hi to David Spade. And of course, I'm kind of nervous because I really didn't want to look like a goofball, even though I kind of am. And anyway, I walk over to David Spade and Chris Farley's brother, right? And I walk up and what do I say? I walk up and I say, hey, David, I'm the daughter of that cute little redhead that was just over here talking to you. And he looks at Chris Farley's brother and looks at me, he goes, you're her daughter? And then I just would look like an idiot. And they just started busting out laughing like, you freaking fool. And I said, hey, man, but I made a famous comedian laugh. And he goes, ha, ha, ha. He goes, good comeback. And then they laugh some more. They got a kick out of it, though. Think about it. I'm that cute little redhead's daughter. What a moron. They probably thought, dumbass, go back to Peoria and go bale some hay, boy. But it was super funny, man. And I was super embarrassed. I don't get embarrassed much. It takes a hell of a lot to embarrass me, man, because, I'm just a clown. What are you going to do? But in the end, when David was getting ready to go have a smoke or he was leaving, I can't remember what it was, why he was going outside by himself. But Audrey said, hey, David, do you mind if me and my dad get a picture with you? And he said, no, not at all. Come outside, man. And so we followed David outside, and I've got to find the photo. I've got it somewhere on the net, I believe. A lot of my pictures were lost in a fire. Back in 2020, the Alameda fires that swept through Northern California and Southern Oregon. So that sucked. But the photo exists somewhere. And I remember David was given the devil horns in the picture. He did this. And that was cool, man. It was a cool rock and roll photo with David Spade. And he treated my daughter great, man. He was like super accommodating and just being real chill with her, making her feel relaxed instead of like, oh, I'm a celebrity, leave me alone. He was just a funny guy, period. And if he was a mushroom, he would be a fun guy. I couldn't resist. Hey, man, it's just a little story I thought of tonight, and I thought, why not? I come from the hometown of Richard Pryor. Sam Kinison was in Peoria, Illinois, living there when he was, starting his whole deal. So I grew up basically loving comedy. Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, Robin Williams, not Randy, what's his name? Rodney Dangerfield. Rest in peace to him. He's one of my favorites. Jonathan Winters, another crazy loony comedian that was the real deal. So many good ones, man, and a lot of good ones today too, and I just don't have names at the tip of my tongue. But thanks for watching my video, man. I got a lot more rock, punk, metal, and GG videos coming up. And yeah, I appreciate it if you guys would subscribe to the channel, like this video for me because it helps the algorithm, and maybe leave a comment. Also, I'm going to be appearing live performing some music with Super 88 March 14th at the Raccoon Motel, Davenport, Iowa, with Blaster and Camp Regret. It's going to kick some ass. It's going to be a great night of punk and rock and roll. And it's going to be Friday, March 14th. Tickets available at theraccoonmotel.com. And also, the next night, we're going to be performing in Chicago, Illinois at the Livewire Lounge. Again, Super 88 playing on the bill and backing me up for about an hour set of my music. We're doing about half my new album and half old classics from the old bands. And that's going to be pretty cool too, man. The Horrids are on the bill and Calidius Time Bomb. This is being brought to you by Punk Rock Tacos. You can get tickets for the Chicago show for Saturday, March 15th by going to dice.fm. That's dice.fm. And again, the Raccoon Motel, Davenport, Iowa, on Friday, March 14th, presented by Ragged Records. Thanks to Bob and Lynn and John Burns and the crew over there. Thanks to you guys for subscribing to my channel, listening to me yammer on endlessly about God knows what. And I'll be back soon with some more rock and roll stuff for you, man. Cheers, and thanks to everyone that's been subscribing from all over the globe. It's so cool. Spain, Ireland. I heard from some cool people today alone. Cheers, man.